Well, I'm glad to be here. I hope you are. My name is Brian Jackson. I'm a member of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Oversight Board. That's a mouthful. The Oversight Board was appointed by the Mayor and City Council, and it consists of 10 members, I think a few of which are here today, at least a couple. The board has been meeting for just about a year and working on the process, the procedures, the operations for the trust fund itself, as well as providing some recommendations and advice with respect to, excuse me, the recipients who we're here about today that will be receiving the first distributions from the trust fund. The City of Richmond established the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as a part of its strategy to work with the development community in producing long-term affordable housing, low to moderate income for residents of the city. One of the goals for the residential developers and for the city is for them to be able to leverage trust fund dollars with funding sources for residential development, hopefully to increase and add to our stock of affordable housing. So, on behalf of the trust fund and on behalf of the board, I thank you for being here today and hearing about our great news and the announcement of our award recipients. Next on our agenda is our mayor. He really needs no introduction, but I do want to emphasize that there's been no more passionate, no harder working advocate for combating poverty, for affordable housing, and for improving our neighborhoods in the city. Let's welcome the Honorable Dwight Clinton Jones.
Thank you, Brian, and good to be here today to be a part of this announcement. And I get the opportunity to talk about the resurgence of Richmond all the time, and I get the opportunity to talk about the restaurants and the wonderful development that's going on in other areas of the city. But there's another method that we have of measuring the resurgence of our community, and that's the availability of affordable housing. A stable living environment is a core foundation for helping families, children, and individuals to begin to grow and prosper and prepare for a long life of achievement in our city. And so I'm very happy today, extremely pleased to be a part of the announcement of the first round of funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. In 2015, nearly $1 million in grants and no interest loans were awarded to 9 different developers and nonprofit agencies to fund projects aimed at preserving and building or increasing accessibility to safe, clean, affordable housing for low and moderate income Richmond residents. And so this is an exciting day. You know, as I get around and see the great things that are going on in the city of Richmond, and then come to an event like this that is so transformational and see the wonderful work that is being done in cooperation with government and nonprofits. You wonder where the cameras are, you wonder where the press is. It seems like they seem to focus on things that really don't make that much of a difference. This really touches people where they live, where the rubber meets the road. This is important work, and since there's not much press here, I'll tell you what it is. This is God's work, and this is the time for us to really celebrate the fact that we are making a difference and leveling the playing field for all of the people in the city of Richmond. I have to thank Ellen Robertson. She has been a star. She has been really a driving force in this work, and she has pushed me and been in my ear. What else have you done, Ellen? But she has been a driving force in the area of affordable housing and the area of poverty mitigation, and I just want to thank her for her efforts. Won't you help me give her a round of applause for her work in this regard? And so through the trust fund, we're going to make grants to large projects as well as small projects. And this wonderful project that I remember being established many years ago is just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to be able to do. Close to my heart is the mitigation of poverty. And so we've been working hard to improve the life quality of life for the most vulnerable citizens of our city. And I'm proud of some of the strides that we're making. Our Center for Workforce Initiative is providing jobs for persons who will have not just a hourly wage job, but a career. Our Bus Rapid Transit project is going to allow people to get from point A to point B and will be the spine for regional transportation in our city. And then today, this Affordable Trust Fund announcement is a part of a larger work that means that we are not ignoring the 26% of the people in our community that live in poverty. And so government can't do it by itself. We have to have partners, and today we're gathered to celebrate what we've been able to do together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Brian, thank you for the leadership that you provided to the Oversight Board. I'm Ellen Robertson, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be here today to just share with you a little bit about the significance and the importance of affordable housing in the city of Richmond. This is a great opportunity for us today to be able to have this press conference, and we need not to be concerned about the level of media coverage. The media is quite aware and the community is quite aware of the significance and the importance of this work. What really makes the difference in us being successful in getting this done is folk like yourselves. You are the partners, you are the ones that work to make it happen. You're the ones who spend hours and hours at tables talking about different policies and different strategies that has to be put in place to make this work possible. If this work could be done by the private sector, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So the need for government, nonprofits, and for the private sector to be engaged in this work is absolutely critical. The message that we need to be able to continue to convey to the larger community is really what affordable housing means. So just for a moment, think about what your annual salary is. Think about those that are very close to you, your families, what their annual salary is. And then just calculate in your mind, are they spending more than 30% of their income? And I'm not sure, and Greta probably can correct me on this because she's really the queen of one of the queens of affordable housing in this region, as well as all of our partners. When you think about whether or not you're spending 30 or 35% or whatever your income is for housing, that says whether or not you can afford housing. And so sometimes the stigma that is associated with affordable housing is just very low income families that need housing, and that is true, very true. But the reality is that if all of us are spending more than 35% of our income for housing, that means we do not have the other flexible income that we need to be able to provide all of the other kinds of essential services and so forth. When the city of Richmond suffers because we cannot maybe bring as much of the economic development that we'd like to see in the city of Richmond, a lot of that is dependent upon how much capital is in the residents of the city of Richmond that can afford those other kinds of amenities and services, okay? And so when the city has a majority or disproportionate majority of its residents that are putting out more than 35% of their income in the cost of housing, it has a tremendous ripple effect on what else the city can afford to make a reality. And so it's important that we get that story out to folk. As we look at the bus rapid transit that the mayor mentioned, and it being the connector for the region, I need all of our partners to now be thinking about that whole mass of land from Willow Lawn to Rockets Landing. And what we are doing now to make sure that housing diversity of choices are included in the development of those land sites so that it really does become a greater connector to jobs and other resources that are in the region and in the city of Richmond. But if we pass up this opportunity to not be involved in the land planning process, we will not include the diversity of housing choices that are needed. The only way we will not have to rebuild Creighton, Wickham, Fairfield, Hillside Court, Mosby, and God forbid, Dove Court, that we're still working on. Making some progress, Mr. Mayor, but we're not there yet. Is that we build housing choices in all of our communities, not have selected zip codes or locations in the city of Richmond. So the mayor is right. He has been a great champion in this whole process of poverty and dealing with poverty in the city of Richmond. The resources have been provided. You know, this city, no other locality in this region has found the way in the political will, directed by the mayor bringing the budget to us from the beginning, of putting well over $5 million in this effort. That's a great start. The leverage of $1 million in the Affordable Housing Trust has yielded us 23-point-some million dollars. That's quite a leverage. The city could make a better investment, but it's not enough. We need to at least get the trust fund to a base, and this is minimum of $5 million annually, in order to bring about, we are facing a severe housing shortage crisis of affordable housing. Everybody is, not just Richmond. And we want to get in front of the curve, and we can get in front of the curve. We have gotten in front of the curve. I spoke to one of the other board members earlier, and we said, it's been a long time coming, but we got a great ball, and it's rolling, and it's picking up momentum. And as long as we keep it moving, it'll get larger. So I look forward to continue to pursue this. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Greta Harris with the Better Housing Coalition, who is the organization of these units that we are standing in today. And this is what affordable housing looks like and is in the city of Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Mr. Mayor and Brian. It feels like I'm here among friends, toiling in the field to try to create quality housing choice for citizens in the city of Richmond. We want to thank all of you for your support as being a grantee in the inaugural allocation of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We were able to leverage the resources given to us so that we could renovate and preserve 47 units of quality affordable housing here in the Carey Street area. That is serving, the overall development is over $4 million. And we are just so appreciative to be able to showcase the work that we've been able to do here. Almost 20 years ago, if you were coming down Carey Street, you would have seen a very different picture of lots of boarded up and blighted properties, almost 80 of them, and a drug-infested corner right here at Carey and Meadow. And the Better Housing Coalition was fortunate to be able to work with the city, LISC, the police department, local businesses, and citizens to be able to craft a strategy to make what was a liability a very positive community asset. We are thrilled to be a partner with the city, and from those humble beginnings, we have now developed and managed 1,500 quality affordable housing units around the region. We've created 200 homeownership opportunities for modest income families and invested almost $200 million into our region to be a catalyst for economic investment to follow. With that work, we served over 10,000 residents, and while we're proud of what we've been able to accomplish, as Ellen mentioned, the need is much greater. We as a nonprofit organization are getting ready to step up our response in a more commensurate way to the growing need in our region. which over the next 20 years, we need 20,000 units of additional quality affordable housing based on projected job growth. So we look forward to working with the mayor, the board, other leaders in the city and in the region to have an appropriate response so that all of our citizens, irrespective of their economic status, can be successful and reach their fullest potential. Thank you so very much.
Good morning. I'm Maureen Neal, and I'm with the Daily Planet. And as you may or may not know, the Daily Planet doesn't really offer housing. We have some supportive housing, some transitional housing, but we work very closely with our nonprofit partners in order to address the housing needs of about 350 people who are chronically homeless every year. And in doing so, we have an outreach program where we work with the Hope Unit of the Richmond City Police. We go out into encampments, under the bridges, any place where there might be gatherings of people who have decided to be homeless, or even those who have not decided to be homeless, but those who, because of a chronic mental illness or substance abuse or some sort of other societal issue, have found themselves faced with homelessness. About 73% of the people who are experiencing homelessness on the street, those 350 people, have been incarcerated. About 65% of them have substance abuse issues, and about 43% of those folks have mental health issues. So our outreach team, the money that we have received, thank you very much for the Housing Trust Fund support. We have a coordinated effort to go out and to identify these individuals and to rate them on a vulnerability index. So those who are most vulnerable health-wise as well as mental health-wise that need housing, they're rated, and then we work with our community partners in order to find stable, either transitional or permanent supportive housing. So that's how we will use the fund. Our plan is to house 50 people within the first year of the grant, and to date, 5 months into it, we've housed 20. So we are very excited about that, and thank you.
So at this time, I guess we will entertain questions. I know that the mayor has another engagement that he has to slip out for, so if there's any pressing question that you must ask the mayor, you better catch him quick. Otherwise, we will attempt to answer your questions. I also want to recognize Lee Downey and his staff for their support to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. They have worked very hard to make sure that we have funding available. We do have the next dates available for the next round of funding for this year. Of course, I think, I don't have the dates in front of me, so let me see if I can find them real quickly. So while I'm looking for that, I'll make sure I come back and give you those announcements just in case anyone have a pressing question that we want to make sure that the mayor's available to if such. Oh, and Ms. Graciana, you blend in so well back there, I didn't even see you. How are you, my friend? And I want to thank City Council members as well for their leadership and continue investment into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Kathy has been a strong partner in that effort. She asks very tough questions, and she makes sure that we line things up well. And at the end of the day, we've always gotten 100% support. So we're grateful for the leadership that we have on City Council to support this effort as well. As far as the dates, we have that on December the 7th will be the next round of applications for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund this year. The reviews will take place during the month of December, and there also will be a proposal review process during the month of December. I think they had tentatively announced that as the 15th, and all proposals will be due by January the 21st. So if you're interested in making an application, would make contact with the City Community and Economic Development Department. And Lee Downey is here if you have any additional questions as it relates to that as well. So if there aren't any additional questions, I would like to read the list of all of the awardees just so that we will give recognition to our strong partners that we have. We have the Wimber Senior Apartments with Home, Cary Street, which is where we are right here today with the Better Housing Coalition, Studio 2 with Virginia Supportive Housing, the Eggleston Plaza with Hanson Company, wheelchair ramps with Home as well, Rebuilding Together with the Rebuilding Together Association in the city, Move to Opportunities with Housing Opportunities Made Equal, Home Again, Rapid Rehousing Project with Emergency Shelter, also known as Home Again, HomeLink with Virginia Supportive Housing, Rapid Rehousing with St. Joseph Villa, and of course, we just heard from the Daily Planning. So those are our awardees of last year, and we are hopeful that we'll get a good, robust applications for this year. All right, I also like to recognize one of our faithful Oversight Board members that is also associate member of RISC. And so he too has been, stand up please so that people will know who you are. He has also been a very instrumental supporter of us in this whole effort. Okay, thank you.